Hello everyone, today we are going to be going over our notes, which is on evaluating algebraic expressions. So this assumes that you know how to use the order of operations, meaning what operation goes first from parentheses, expressions, multiply, divide, and then add, subtract last. So we're going to go ahead and start about going over the definition of an algebraic expression, first of all. So we have an expression. Let's go ahead and write that in. So an expression in which all or some of the terms contain variables is what we call an algebraic expression. Or you can also call it a variable expression. Remember, it's just a combination of numbers, letters, add, subtract symbols, exponents, and we call this a variable expression. You might see parentheses as well, and other grouping symbols. So if the value of the variable is known, we can evaluate the expression. So when we know what x equals, what y equals, what j or x or whatever other letter we have equals, then we evaluate the expression, meaning we figure out what it is once we substitute that number in. So to evaluate an algebraic or variable expression, we just substitute the value of the variable into the expression, meaning we just replace the letter or the variable for its number that it's assigned to. And then we just evaluate using our order of operations. So following the order of operations, we simplify. So for example, we are given the expression down here, 5x minus 12. If we're given this expression and we are told that x equals 17, we are going to replace the letter x for the number 17. So in our expression, 5x minus 12, we're going to rewrite it here. Notice that I replace the variable here for these parentheses here, and we still have the 5. We have the so here we go ahead and replace that number in the place of the variable. So right here where the parentheses are at, I'm going to replace x for the number 17. So I'm allowed to replace a letter for its value, 17 in this case. So we have 5 times 17 minus 12. So I just figure out what 5 times 17 is, right? Whether you use a calculator or do it by hand, and it looks like it's 85. So I'm going to replace 85 for 5 times 17. I still have that minus 12, so I subtract 12, and I get 73. So I have just evaluated an algebraic expression. All we're doing is replacing the letter's value for its actual numerical value. And then we just simplify using that order of operations. Let's go ahead and move on. So again, here's the order of operations for you. One thing I want to make sure we all are very clear on, that multiplication and division, this part right here, these are together. Sometimes multiplication goes first, sometimes division goes first. It just depends as we're moving from left to right. Same thing for addition and subtraction. These are grouped together. Sometimes you'll do adding first, sometimes you'll do subtracting first. It's not always one or the other. It just depends which one's on the left, and we go from left to right. So let's go ahead and look at our first examples. Number 1, we're going to evaluate x minus 3y plus 7. So all we're doing is replacing the numbers for the letters. So I can see that x is equal to negative 3, so this becomes negative 3. Then we have the minus 3. I'm going to replace the y with parentheses plus 7. Y is equal to 7, so I put a 7 in here. So again, all I did was replace the numbers, the letters for their numerical values. At this point, I use the order of operations. I see a subtraction, a multiplication, and an addition. Based on the order of operations, multiplication goes first. So I'm going to go ahead and put, this is 21, bring down my minus sign, the minus 3 and the plus 7. Now I'm going to do add and subtract from left to right. So I'm going to add these two because two negatives, you can think of them as being both negatives. We combine them, you get negative 24. Then we bring down our plus 7, and this just equals, let's see, for 17, and it's negative. Again, these subtract because one's positive, one negative. Think of being on the negative 24 in the number line and moving to the right side. The numbers get bigger, which means the negative gets smaller. Let's go on to the next one. We have 2x squared plus 5y minus z cubed. So again, we're going to be substituting all three of these into that expression. So 2x squared plus 5y minus z cubed. So I'm just putting blanks where I see the variables, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill them in now. So 2x squared, x is -3, so I put a -3 here. Plus 5y, y is 7, I'm going to put a 7 there. Minus z cubed, z is -2, so I'm going to put a -2 here. Notice I get a double negative in this expression. It's one place where you got to be very careful. So now we're going to do the exponent first. So it's 2 times -3 times -3 is +9. We'll do the other exponent. -2 times another -2 is 4, times another -2, because there's cubed, is -8. So 2 times 2 times 2, all of them negative, gives me -8. And then I can go ahead and do bring down the 5 times 7, and now I'm going to move on to the next level on order of operations, which is multiplication. So I have 3 multiplications here. 2 times 9, 18, 5 times 7, 35, and a negative times a -8, or minus 8, is +8. Now I can just go ahead and add and wrap this up. So 18 plus 35, that's 40, 53. Add the 8, and that's going to give me a total of 61. So here are my first 2 answers for number 1A and B. Let's go ahead and move on to the second set of examples. So we have now an expression with a fraction. So again, works the same way. Let's not overthink it. So it's going to be 9 over whatever y is minus 8 over y times y plus 2. So we have a substitution of a y down here. Again, y is 2. We're going to replace the 2 y's for the number 2. From here, we just go ahead and simplify. Here we're going to get a decimal with 9 divided by 2. That's 4.5. So divide first. Multiply goes next because we're going from left to right. And we just go ahead and simplify from here. 4.5 minus 16, that's going to be 11.5. Add 2, that's going to be 13.5. Final answer. Let's move on to number 3. So here we have 4. We're going to replace the x minus 3, replace the y, and square it. So let's go ahead and fill in those blanks. For x is 3, minus 3y squared, y is -5. So I substitute first. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So first we want to take care of the exponent. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this right side over here. So it's going to be -3 times -5 times -5 is 25. So I took care of the exponent. Now I can take care of 4 times 3, which is 12. Now I have a subtraction here and a multiplication. Common thing is people want to subtract this, but we can't subtract these because we have a multiplication, so I have to take care of this multiplication first. 3 times 25, which would give us 75. Now that we've taken care of our exponents and multiplication, there's no division. Now we can move on to add and subtract, which is the last level. So 12 minus 75 will be -63. And that's my final answer. Let's go ahead and move on to those last problems. So a little bit more intense. They have more going on, so we just got to keep using that order of operations. The idea is the same. It's just more steps to keep an eye out for. So I'm going to go start with 3. I'm going to cube the x minus another x squared plus 2 times another x plus 9. Again, I have 3 x's. I'm going to substitute the number -2 3 times. So all of these are going to become a -2 because I see 3 variables with the letter x. 3 locations where the variable x is located. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify this whole thing. So start with the exponents. -2 times -2 times -2 is -8. -2 times -2 is +4. And bring the rest of it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So exponents first, multiplication, division go next. There's no division, just multiplication. 3 times -8 is -24. A negative times a 4 is just -4. We just drop the parentheses there. There's not much to do. 2 times -2 is -4. And bring down our 9. Now we just subtract and add from left to right. So we're going to start with these two. We're at -24 and we go 4 units to the left on the number line. We're at -28. Bring down the -4 plus 9. We're at -28 and we go 4 more to the left. We're at -32. and then we're going to add 9. If we're at negative 2 and go 9 to the right on the number line, we're going to be at 23, still negative. And we are done with that one. Last one, we have a division expression, a big giant fraction, so we're going to just be careful as we substitute. So I'm just going to go to the right here. We're going to substitute the x, and we're going to square it, the y, and we're going to square it all over the x squared again, minus 2, and then square the y. So I'm going to start with substituting x for the 2 spots here, right there. There's one right there, and this one right there. So there's 2's right there. For the y, we have a negative 3. That's here and here, which is negative 3 here and negative 3 there. Now we're just going to go ahead and simplify this. It looks very intimidating, but don't be intimidated by these. They're not as bad as they look most of the time. So let's start with the top. 2 squared is 4. Negative 3 squared is positive 9, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Now the denominator, we have 2 squared again is still a 4. Minus 2, and 3 squared is 9 again. Now we're going to keep going. So again, there is a division here, but we wouldn't do it because we want to do everything on the top and everything on the bottom before we divide. Think of them as also a grouping symbol. 4 times 9 is 36. For the bottom we have 4 minus 2 times 9. So multiplication goes first. So it's going to be 4 minus 2 times 9, which is 18. We keep going. We have 36 at the top. We're done with the numerator. We've got to take care of the denominator. So 4 minus 18 will be negative 14. And then we just reduce this as best we can because 14 does not go into 36. So we're going to ask ourselves what divides both 36 and 14. We can divide these by 2. So I'm going to put a little sign right here. You can divide by 2, both the top and the bottom. So I'm going to divide by 2. Let's put my equal sign again so you can see it nicer. So half of 36 is 18. Half of 14 is 7, and it's still negative. I'm just going to put the negative here in the middle instead of the bottom. We usually like putting the negatives in the middle. So that's pretty much it. Go ahead and get started on your practice, and I excel, and good luck.